You've reached another episode of Checkpoint Media Group, CPMG. I'm your co-host, Ryan the Rugged Nerd Marshall. With me,
Mike CommanderSoups Sapanich.
it's Commander Soups now. You might have remembered him as Uwan Way. Who really knows anymore? It's 2020. Shit's all changed. Everything's all different. You know, we're like Michael Myers. We're like Jason. You think we're gone, and then we come back for sequels, for threequels. There's gonna be CPMGX in space, where I freeze a girl's face and bash it down onto the table. We're here to talk about next gen.
Let's do it. Hey, so before we start that, actually, I was thinking about this today, and I was like, all right, CPMG, like, this is what we're doing and whatever, and I spent like 5 minutes like, what does the M stand for?
As we've learned about other things tonight, there's no way to find out. It's like when you say, like, Jesus H. Christ. We don't know what the H is. Could be Horace. Could be Henry.
Yeah.
Could be Hector. Actually, I think it might be Hector.
Hector's a good one.
We'll ask the apostles. Chris Rock, 13th apostle from Dogma. We'll ask him. He's got to know. He's not busy. He's done filming Saw. So we're here to talk about next gen. Xboxes are coming out. PlayStations are coming out. We got graphics cards galore. Nobody can get any of it, but it's here and it's expensive and it's great and wonderful and scary.
Well, don't say nobody can get any of it, because rumor has it that a certain rugged nerd may have a PS5.
This guy. Yeah, so I'm one of 10 people on planet Earth that got a PlayStation 5.
Proud of you.
People have asked. I get asked on the streets all the time. Rugged nerd, bud, how'd you get one? And I'm going to tell you, I just followed people on Twitter talking about one. And some guy was like, bros, link right here if you guys want a PS5. And I was like, I do. Clicked on the link, shelled out $500, and I got one. And it's the greatest thing ever, except for some game-breaking bugs and things that I ran into.
Except for it. Well, give us some... before we dive into comparisons and bashing, the ones we don't like, tell us honest opinion. First, you've had it, what, a week? It's been about
a week. Yep. I was lucky enough to get it.
What's your first opinion of the PS5 and, barring game-breaking bugs, maybe?
I am totally biased, so don't listen to me, but I absolutely love it. I'm also a Sony fanboy, so I don't know how much you want to take that. No, it's great, and I actually don't hate what it looks like. I know that's kind of the big, hey, it looks ridiculous. It looks like a router. It looks like the rotating fan. It looks like it's got a popped collar. It's great. I absolutely love it. And I love how ridiculous it is. The one thing that surprises me, and you can see it right there, it's big. And, I knew it was going to be big. They talked about how big it was going to be. They showed in pictures how big it was. And then I got it, and I was like, it's even bigger than I thought. Like porno big, like you're seeing, and you're like, holy shit, that dick is gigantic. Like that's my eyes lit up.
It's not,
it's not realistic. It's not realistic how big it is.
But it's
it's that big.
Like, wait, so where do you put it, like in your in your game room or whatever you've got? Like,
yeah.
Do you have to create space for it, like a PS4 or whatever, kind of just fit like in a normal shelf?
You put it in your wallet. You could take that thing anywhere. This was not that way. The big concern with my girlfriend was, is this gonna fucking fit where exactly the PS4 Pro was?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, does. It does still fit. But it is. I used to pop a little controller next to it that I was charging. Mike, I can't do that anymore. That's no longer the case. We have maxed potential in that little slot under my Samsung 65-inch 4K TV. Right next to that, though, another barren slot, PS5 DualSense controller, 3D audio headset.
Nice.
So I did get the headset as well.
Okay, I gotta interrupt you real quick.
Please.
I'm infatuated. I've never seen this video of the stand that moves from the bottom to the side. I'm like infatuated with it. Like that's really cool.
It's great. It caused quite a stir in our household trying to figure out this stand. So we have it vertical, or I'm sorry, horizontal. And so if you're going to do it vertically, from what I understand, I didn't do this, but from what I understand, you actually have to like unscrew something from the bottom, pop it up there and that. But if you're doing it horizontally, There's actually like on the back of the consoles, there's like a square, triangle, X, circle, square, triangle, X, circle, like these like little inlays on the plastic.
Yeah.
You snap the two little grooves on the stand right over the two squares, and then it just kind of sits sort of perfectly. Because, like I said, it thing's fucking heavy. So like it definitely needs a stand. If you don't have a stand on there, it's going to be a little wobbly. I also wanted to get
or that it doesn't come with the stand.
No, it does. It comes with a stand.
Okay.
So everything that's in there, you obviously got the
Okay.
console, you got the HDMI 3 point whatever, you've got your power cable, your PS5 controller, everything's in box. The headset, obviously, I bought separately. But where this is different, though, this actually does not come with a headset. Where I believe the PS4 Pro and PS4 did, just like that, really like
the single ear plugged into the controller. Yeah.
Exactly. This one did not come with it, but I did get the that 3D audio headset with it, which is pretty hard to find, but I think it's not as crazy to find. So your question, initial thoughts of it. So it's not too different as far as like what your actual experience would be as the user. So like you fire it up, you pick your profile. It launches into a dashboard, something a little similar to what you'd expect from the PS4. Right. There is some differences. So like at least right now, there's no like themes and things like that. You could usually, before you get free themes or buy themes for, I want a Sekiro theme, and then that'd be like, your background. Right. Where a lot of the kind of differences come from is a lot of the different like unique settings. So one of the cool things about PS5 now is they do, you can do like these default settings from the actual console setting menu that actually applies to all your games. Things like inverting a control scheme, inverting your look, like turning on or off subtitles. You could even default difficulty. Like if you're the type of person that wants every game to be on hard, you can actually set that up on your PS5. We got a launch video right here of the dashboard. You could set that up on the PS5, and now all your games that you launch into will launch into the hard mode or easy mode or regular mode. Yeah. So a little quality of life there. Everything else is, there's just a little bit of UI differences. Where the friends existed before is now called like the party hub or create a hub crap thing, where it's got, you can see on that video where it's got the little 2 number. That's like the friends list now. That whole bottom bar is actually customizable now. So you can actually like pick and choose what you want to show up down there.
Nice.
But as you can see, it's like mostly the same. And actually another thing that's kind of a nice little function, and where I think the PlayStation's kind of going more into the next gen territory, was kind of with the activity cards that we actually see right there. So there's these sort of like, depending on the dashboard that you're on or the game that you're in, these squares that pop up with either like recent events or activities related to the game. Yeah. There's even like embedded videos of like, maybe you're stuck on a part in Demon Souls, or you're playing Astro's Playground or whatever, and you're like, oh, how do I get up there? There's a lot of times these little videos already embedded in there, so you don't, it's no different than going into Google and searching for yourself or going onto YouTube. It's just little quality of life things. But my biggest draw right now is the controller. So obviously from day one, when Mark Cerny was talking about the sort of hardware and the infrastructure of the PlayStation 5, their big thing was, the big thing's going to be the controller. It's got haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. At the time, I was like, just sounds like fucking techie buzzwords. I don't give a fuck about any of that. Yeah. It looks like shit, but I got it in my hands, and it's fucking cool. It's really, really cool. Kind of the kicker or / downside is you only get the most out of the controller if the developer created the game around it. So, for instance, Astro's Playground, which actually comes, it's a free game with the system. It comes doesn't come pre-installed, but it starts downloading like when you're setting up the system, so it's pretty quick. Right. That really takes full advantage. So that's like showing you what I think is more going to be like probably down the line, when more and more games and more exclusives, or more just next gen versions of these games are coming out. And correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe we'll have to fact check this later, but I'm fairly certain the haptic feedback, which is the rumble, is made by the same people that did the Joy-Con rumble for the Switch. And it really is unique in like how it's rumbling. When you're walking on sand versus grass versus steel versus concrete, you can actually like feel it a little differently. And if rainfall is happening, you can like almost feel, in a sense, that you can almost feel the individual drops hitting the controller rather than just like a more like sustained rumble. It's kind of more it's sort of it's really almost like you feel it to believe it. And then the adaptive triggers, those are also very cool. So it's like the different pressure of the triggers depending on actions that you're doing. So one of the things in Astro's Playground is there's like, as you're playing these levels and getting different coins and gold, and you can go to this slot machine in like the home world, pop a quarter in and pull down the guy to get like a little, pop open thingy. And you can, like, when you're pulling it, you feel the resistance on the left trigger, which would, be
wow.
would be L2 essentially. And then when you're opening it, you're hitting R2 and you feel it. When I was playing Spider-Man, I could feel a little bit of that as I'm shooting off my web and swinging through the city. Now I'm also playing Assassin's Creed. They don't really do much with it. So you feel the rumble, but you don't really feel much with the trigger. So it's up to the developer on whether or not they're really going to utilize it. But again, this is just the launch games. I imagine this conversation 6 months from now, it's more games, if not most games that are coming out for the PS5 are going to really utilize it. But I guess only time will tell.
I would definitely hope. I mean, just like when the PS4 came out and, we got the DualShock 4 and it had these, this motion, this touch in the middle, and it had this, it's the Sixth Sense and whatnot. And, a lot of games didn't use it. It wasn't even an option, and it kind of was garbage even once people started using it. But you had the option later on. And so I would guess that, this is even more so a better added feature.
Yes.
And it's nice that it can kind of roll into, both just the traditional rumble where the whole thing kind of rumbles when something happens, or you get that sort of that sense all around the controller of when something happens on the right or the left or whatever. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. No, it's great. It's one of my favorite things about it so far. The only sort of so that's the console. It looks great. There's a performance mode and a fidelity mode. Basically, what that equates to is, at least for the games out now, performance mode is going to be, your traditional, depending on the game, 30 or 60 frames a second. Probably, I think it's only at like 1080p. Fidelity mode will be, where ray tracing gets turned on. I'm not super techie, so I don't know what version of ray tracing that really looks like, but at least from what my eyes are seeing, okay, here we go. This is Spider-Man Miles Morales, performance versus fidelity. That fidelity is actually going to see, you're going to see the lighting, you're going to see the shadows, you're going to see the reflections in the water and the glass and the steel, that really make it sort of pop out. I actually just recently beat Spider-Man. This isn't really about that, but fantastic game, by the way. I played it in fidelity mode. I didn't see any issues, but Godfall however, I swapped between both, and fidelity mode was like garbage. It popped it down to 30 frames, and it was like almost like it almost seemed less. I feel like it was like maybe hitting 15 frames, but in performance mode it was great, and it still looks fantastic.
I don't know all the tech details either. I know that they're kind of doing some tricks behind the scenes to, sneak in power to make that ray tracing work, and or adjusting settings like dropping it down to 30 frames, to sort of allow for those more textures and the shadows and the reflections and the things that we look for in ray tracing. And that's the reality of probably what we're going to see with a lot of PS5 games, at least early on, is that it's going to be limited on how much you can do, because just the way they have to, you have to create a console that way. You have to, give and take a little bit. And right now, at least, the take is going to be dropping resolution and frames potentially to get that better look. And I think, like you said, a lot of people are going to just play it in performance mode because they'd rather get the 60 frames and, the higher, or the better scaled resolution rather than some fancy shit. So the PC, PC games cheat too, or PC developers, they cheat too using DLSS. It's just it's another setting to, kind of allow things to run more smoothly and to kind of, I don't want to say upscale things, because that's kind of it's like a buzzword, oh, well, we just upscaled it, to make it look better or whatever, and like it kind of gets a bad rap. But our producer is looking up some some stats on that and how
tech
that.
details.
Yeah, how the tech details. Yeah, thank you on how those kind of differed between the console and the PC. We don't think the consoles are using DLSS, and I think that's kind of the big difference between current gen, 2020 series.
I wonder if that's I wonder if that's what Crackdown 3 was using. That's so. Talk about like cloud. So DLSS is cloud rendering. I've been told it's too hard to explain.
Yeah, it's too technical for what we're trying to do, and you and I do not know enough about it, and we're just not going to go down that path.
We're the faces.
Yeah, we are.
We're the talent. We don't need to know these things.
No,
we're like Ellen DeGeneres, right? She doesn't know shit. She's just a face, an old face, but a face.
You need a face.
Yeah.
So we'll we're gonna put some stuff up on the screen.
There you go, some DLSS.
And it sure gives you the. Okay, so in the you can see the details there.
AI is rendering to make it smoother.
Yeah,
Okay. And kind of the saving grace with these consoles, for instance, Insomniac, who actually created Spider-Man, went on record as saying that, when they were creating Miles Morales, that I think their exact verbiage was, we were barely scratching the surface of what the PS5 can do. So that's really, something to look forward to, and then even thinking back on previous console generations, seeing that first wave of games that come out versus the last wave of games almost, again, looks like they're almost running on two different consoles.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what it does. Obviously, as far as game selection is concerned, it's somewhat limited. The biggest console, to some system seller is obviously the Demon's Souls remake, which is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And really one of the few only actual next gen games that's really even come out. Like, Xbox doesn't have a whole lot. Their big game was Halo, which got delayed. Miles Morales is also on PS4. Godfall, I think, is also just pure next gen. It's on PC as well, but also only a next gen game. So, as far as the games are concerned, those are still, Spider-Man's great. To me, it's a 9, but it's more of the same. There's not really, I don't think we're going to see that version of next gen games until, probably a year plus down the line.
It's pretty typical of, any console or any technology release. I mean, it was no different when the 20 series graphics cards started coming out. Only one game was really highlighted, Battlefield 5. And now it's, now they're putting it in Minecraft and they're putting it in VR and they're putting it everywhere. They're putting it in World of Warcraft. They're putting ray tracing everywhere. Because almost all the cards can do it. It's been 2 years. So
absolutely.
I agree. I expect that the consoles, because Xbox has ray tracing as well. I actually believe they claim that they do it better than Sony does. But time will tell. In the end, I think it won't matter. It's a lot of the same technology in each of the consoles. So, in a couple of years, when the developers have a handle on it and they are really getting more out of the consoles than what we can get at launch, it'll mostly come down to preference, like it always does. Controller preference, exclusive preference, and
it's games.
Yeah, it's games, but the problem is, and we can, we'll segue here a little bit, console exclusives or system exclusives just are almost a thing of the past. Godfall's on all three, the third being PC. We'll leave Switch out of the conversation because it's not,
Godfall won't be on Xbox for 6 months, so it's a timed exclusive right now. It's only small window.
But I don't know, timed exclusives, like I don't even count those as real exclusives. Like, okay, that sucks. Either. You have to wait, but everything on Xbox will be on PC. They've confirmed that.
Yeah.
There will be no such thing as a Xbox exclusive when you're also including PC in that conversation. The only thing it'll be exclusive.
Even PlayStation games are jumping to PC now. Horizon came to PC.
Yeah.
Fucking Death Stranding came to PC.
Yeah. It seems like most things are timed exclusive. It's timed until it comes to PC someday. I mean,
Yeah.
they're re-releasing the entire Halo collection on PC because that's the reality is that's where a lot of people play games, and it's a really good and easy way to catch up on old stuff. I mean, I never had an Xbox, so I didn't play Halo 2 through 19 or whatever we're on.
Not missing anything.
Right.
I'm not a Halo guy.
I agree from what I've seen and heard, but you can go and those games are decades old now. You can go play them because they were able to remix them for the PC. So
I like Halo Reach.
I've heard Halo Reach is one of the better.
It's like the hidden gem Halo game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to touch on the PlayStation before we jump to a little bit maybe more about Xbox and kind of moving on to what next gen really means and can mean. So there is a pretty sizable bug going around for the PlayStation 5 console. It's a download queue bug. I've actually run into it myself, and it's a big fucking pain in my ass. So when I was like pretty drunk a few nights ago trying to download Demon Souls, and our producer hit me with maybe one of the greatest retorts to the comment that I made for him, and I'll tell you about that too. But basically, I went on a fucking whirlwind of buying games, and I quote enough games where I probably could have just bought a really high level PC. One of those games.
We'll talk about that later.
One of those games was Demon Souls. So I'm sitting there with so I just moved to this place, everybody. I had DSL internet up until a few days ago. It was my biggest fucking nightmare when you're getting a new PS5 and you have to download all these games. So I'm downloading all these games. I bought Spider-Man, I bought Godfall, I bought Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Demon Souls, and everything's downloading. And then I realized the next day, I'm like, what the fuck? Demon Souls didn't download. And I'm sitting there and I go and I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I go to like the game on the live. Of course, Sony took my money. So I go and I'm like, okay, well, let me go find the game on the PlayStation Store. It's like, oh, it's in the download queue. And I was like, that's weird. That's really fucking weird. It should have downloaded because my PlayStation 5 was in rest mode. So then I go to the download queue, nowhere to be fucking found. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Let me go to my library. There it is in my library. I click on it. It's like, Ryan, it's in the download queue. I'm like, first of all, how the fuck did you know my name? Second of all, no, it's fucking not, you lying piece of shit. And then I'm like, I'm going to get smart. I'm going to get smarter than the PlayStation. I'm like, I'm going to go to the PS app because the PS app lets you download games now from your phone. So I fire up my iPhone XS Max and I'm get to the PS app and there it is. There's the download button. I'm like, fuck you, PlayStation. Ryan 1, PlayStation 0. Hit download. It's like, there's a fucking error, Ryan. And I'm like, okay, new rules, PlayStation 1, Ryan 0. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I literally don't know what even to do. So I'm like, I have to factory reset my console. This is what I do. I factory reset my console. It worked. Don't get me wrong. It fucking worked. I had to re-download all my games. Super drunk, super pissed off, whatever. I wake up the next morning, slightly hungover, to a bright, shiny article on IGN that says, guess what, everybody? There's a download queue bug for the PlayStation 5. And I'm like literally reading through it. And it's like, just so you guys are aware, the only way to fucking do this is to factory reset your console. And then I'm pretty sure it said ... Ryan with a middle finger. So that's a thing that still exists. And there was an update to the PlayStation 5 a couple days ago. Everybody's like, fuck yeah, no more download queue bug. Hit the update. The update says, this is what's being changed. But at the bottom it says, not the fucking download queue bug. So I'm pretty sure I ran into it again when I tried to download Fuser, but I kind of tricked it because I started downloading. It wasn't downloading, and I was like, what the fuck? I no longer have DSL. I have cable like we all did 5 years ago. I came from a place with fiber. I no longer have that fiber. And so I go, and I'm like, I'm going to try to buy a song to get some DLC downloading to see if it jump starts it like you're in a manual car. And you have to pop it into third to get it going. It worked! I was like, huzzah! I downloaded Rock Your Body by Justin Timberlake, and I got Fuser downloading, so I beat it.
All you had to do was spend more money. That's the real bug is that Sony's just like, no, if you pay us more, then we'll push it through.
It's a JT song. I feel like he's paying me to buy it. So
That's a whole different conversation.
long story short, I think the PlayStation's fantastic. This is Fuser, by the way. It's super fun. Kind of ridiculous, but super fun. PlayStation 5 is great. It's really fucking big. I don't mind the whiteness. Maybe it's white privilege. Who knows? The game selection is pretty good for launch. It's probably going to get better over time.
Yeah.
Go out and get one if you could be the 8th or 9th person to actually land one on planet Earth.
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, and they're all kind of hard to get. So let's shift to Xbox a little bit.
Xbox.
And
12 teraflops, whatever that means.
I will never get an Xbox, and I have a PC, and like I said before, I have a 20 series video card. I will get a 30 series video card. Like, I have no need for an Xbox. But something that I don't understand is why you would come out with a system called Xbox X. One, that's a terrible name. But two, but on top of that, then your next console after that is the Xbox Series X, which is a completely different. Like, that's not confusing at all. Like, I guarantee you, there's going to be grandmas out there looking for the Xbox Series X for their grandkids, and they're going to buy the wrong one because they don't know that that
it already happened when the Xbox Series X and Series S pre-orders went live. There was a spike in Xbox One X purchases because everybody's like, holy shit, I found one. Oh, wait, no, that's the other black Xbox X. And they're like, fuck.
Exactly.
Say what you will about Sony. Nice and easy. PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5. And you can't fuck up that 5 one because it looks like he's wearing a white tux with a popped collar. You don't fuck that up. But this Xbox is a black box, and it's a little bit bigger than the other one that was a smaller black box. At least the Series S looks a little different, but it actually fucking doesn't because the Xbox One S is the same goddamn console. The only difference is the Series S has a black fucking drum kit on it, where the Series S doesn't. They are the same fucking consoles.
No, to their credit, I will say that they found a design that was good and that people liked. And now, obviously, the fridge joke exists, and that's funny. And there's always going to be jokes about something. Like, people are always going to nitpick, and they're going to make silly comments, and we'll create memes and stuff like that. But they found a design that worked, and I'm guessing that their thought process was, well, let's not throw off the whole design. Like, let's just keep the same thing and adjust slightly depending on our what we need for technology and for hardware needs, and we'll just move forward. I can't fathom why you would call it the exact same thing.
It
like,
makes no sense to me.
Oh, and so our producers pulled up the video of the Xbox fridge.
They sound like Snoop Dogg.
Hilarious, actually, that they just embraced it and were like, all right, like, you think it looks like a fridge? We'll make a fridge. I don't think you can actually get that fridge. I think it was
they gave one to Snoop Dogg for like a real Xbox fridge.
Yeah, but they made like 10 of them like as a joke. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like
they only made 12 Series X, so that's 2 more than the fridges that they made. And I can tell you something, all 12 have been pre-ordered, and they're being sold for $32,000 a piece. So
great. Okay, so let's talk about the Xbox. Like, let's actually talk about the Xbox. So
it's a beast. It's a powerhouse.
It's obviously comparable to the PS5.
It's 20% more powerful than the PS5. That's the number that I've seen
on paper. So we don't know, we don't know for sure yet. Because when is it release?
They're both already released. They're already both.
Are they?
Released. Yeah, last week. They both came out last week.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember if they both came out at the same time or not. But I haven't seen too much like comparison videos between the two. But there's not really a lot to compare yet because most of the games are exclusive or timed exclusive, to one console or the other. So there is one. So as far as hardware is concerned, we don't really know yet. Neither of us will get an Xbox. Oh, here we go.
I'm at like a year from now, just because.
So
Thanks to
Digital
Digital
Foundry
Foundry.
apparently was able to acquire one of each, and
The Legends.
what? Oh, this is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right?
Yeah, it's basically the Assassin's Creed version of The Witcher, by the way. It's the closest game that I've seen to The Witcher. Horizontal tearing. No one knows what the fuck that is, but it's got it, bud.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
So one thing I will say about the Xbox, it has the power. It's got the quick resume, which is really awesome. You know, like you could basically like if this were your spot in the game, you don't have to save and quit. You just pause and then go play something else. And when you come back to that, it's right back where it was. I think you could do that for multiple. Um, so I'm getting word that's pretty buggy, but when it works, it's gonna be amazing. But obviously, it's it's a new console. There's bugs to be had.
That's really it's really cool technology. It just
Very cool technology. But where I think Xbox. So by the way, real quick, I'll probably buy one in a year because they bought ZeniMax, and I can't miss out on Starfield and Skyrim and all that unless I got a PC. But that's a tale for another time. Or Shadow PC. That's right. So the thing that I think Xbox is doing really well, and where I think that they have the potential to blow Sony out of the water, is with xCloud. Especially where I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but there's rumors that it could be something similar to a Fire Stick, where you couldn't play every single Xbox game that comes out, but anything on Xbox Games Pass, you plug the fucking Fire Stick into your TV, and now you've got Game Pass. You don't need a $500 Xbox Series X to play it. That's huge. That is next. That's what Stadia. Stadia's doing it, right? Now Xbox could be doing it with Game Pass. And just in and of itself, Game Pass is I had briefly had an Xbox One, and I had Game Pass for a while. It's awesome. I mean, you can't beat it.
It's the deal of the century.
Yeah, like you can't beat it. Even PlayStation Now doesn't even come close.
Yeah. Well, and Xbox, between that and the Xbox Series S it's $100 cheaper, right? It's $400, and it's a digital only console.
It's actually $200 cheaper. Series S is $300. X is $500.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it's $200 cheaper. Like, that's pretty amazing. It's not supposedly it's not as powerful as the Series X, is my understanding. I haven't really looked into the exact specs, but
so I don't know what it means. So I don't know what a teraflop is, but the Xbox Series X has 12 teraflops. I think the Series S is has 4 teraflops. It also has 512 gigs of storage versus 800 or 900, or maybe it's a terabyte. I don't remember on the Series X. So the Series S can't do native 4K. It can do upscaled 4K or 1080p versus Series X can do native 4K and 60 frames a second. It's more just tech, but the games can be played anywhere. Is really
But honestly, that stuff is so native 4K. How many people are actually properly utilizing that, if they even can? I don't have a 4K TV or a 4K monitor. I
have 2 4K TVs, so
well, you're an asshole. So
both my TVs are only 60 hertz. Yeah, they're not 120 hertz.
It's not. So there's just not. We're not at the point where that tech is going to be utilized. So
right.
If you're okay with that, with those changes and with being digital only, I mean, who even buys discs anymore, anyways? I mean, you even downloaded all your PS5 games,
I've bought disc in 7 years.
In a digital world.
Yeah.
And so I do want to step back real quick. I don't know if our producer can pull this back up because we kind of glossed over Xbox Game Pass. He was scrolling through. That wasn't a video. That was him actually going through all the games in Xbox Game Pass.
There it is.
And the games were, I mean, there's really good games in there.
My girlfriend has probably put 250 hours into The Sims 4. Battlefront 2, Fallen Order is a new Game Pass game.
Fallen Order's in there. There's tons of stuff in there.
Doom Eternal, absolutely fantastic game.
Yeah. And so
Forza Horizon 4, fantastic game.
so you buy a $300 system, you buy I think Game Pass Ultimate is $15 a month, and you can find deals. Like it's not like
I think you
it's
can
not like
pay
that's
less
going to
if
be
you buy it yearly.
that has to be the price. Like there's always deals on it. The first month's usually $1. Like so for $15 a month, you can play a whole bunch of AAA $60 games.
Unlimited games.
Well,
and something that Xbox is doing. Every first party Microsoft game will be on their day one. And something we actually didn't even touch on, which I think is super awesome, especially right now with COVID, especially with kind of how difficult things are. Xbox has something called Xbox All Access. You can actually purchase an Xbox Series S or an Xbox Series X using something called Xbox All Access, where you actually pay monthly towards the console. And I think, we'll have to fact check here. I'm not sure if there's interest rates or anything like that. I don't think there is, but I'm fairly certain it's just a monthly payment, $37, something like that. You get your console right away. You're paying this monthly payment. I do think it does require a light credit check, just because they want to make sure that they're going to get their money. And then it also unlocks access to Game Pass. It's not just that monthly fee going towards the console. You're actually also getting Game Pass with it. And I think it's for like a year or two or something like that. So it's not just like a month. It's a really long time, which is an awesome
2
deal.
years, 24 months of Xbox
there we go.
Ultimate.
And like that's huge. And like it's not just through Microsoft Store. I'm pretty sure Best Buy lets you do it. I think GameStop might let you do it. You could obviously do it through the Microsoft Store. Walmart, I think, lets you do it, and it's look at
there's different
0%
options.
APR. There you go.
0%
0% APR.
25 for the Xbox Series S. 35.
You do, and once you're done paying on it, you own the console. Like I think that's great. Like what a great time doing it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely agreed with the timing on it and everything. Something else that's coming to Xbox Game Pass. Everything from EA Play is coming to Xbox Game Pass.
EA Play.
And actually on the console, I think it's already there. I think or games are starting to show up there. On PC, it is next month, I believe. So in past videos, we've talked a lot about EA Origin and EA Origin Premier and those subscriptions. So it's now called EA Play or EA Play Pro. Yep. They are adding all of those games. So Fallen Order, the new Command & Conquer, the new FIFA, Madden, Anthem, Battlefield, Unravel 2, the new Need for Speeds. Like it's all of EA's games are available right away,
including all their new releases as well.
It's new releases available day one. You're not waiting on anything, and this is all going to be on Xbox Game Pass too. Like it's not an extra fee. There's no extra subscription. So there might be some details to work out, but from what we know, I mean, there are definitely games coming. There's more games coming to Xbox Game Pass. That's the bottom line, and it's a really great deal. It's $10 a month for the standard. It's $15 a month for the Ultimate, which gives you access to Xbox Live service.
Yeah, you get Xbox Live, and they just bought fucking ZeniMax. Like that's huge.
Yeah, and for people who don't realize, ZeniMax
$1 billion.
ZeniMax owns Bethesda, who makes Skyrim and making Elder
Scrolls 6, and Starfield, which is and Fallout, obviously.
Yeah.
What I think. And I think there's been a lot of questions like, well, what does that mean? Are these games still going to come out on, they'll still come out on PC, but are they going to still come out on PlayStation? And I think the verbiage we got from Todd Howard, who's like the head over at Bethesda, was that the goal is to have games come out either only, first, or best played on Xbox. Meaning there's going to be some kicker, even if it's a game that comes out on everything else, it's going to be best played on Xbox, or first played on Xbox, or only played on Xbox. I mean, to put it in perspective, $7.5 billion acquisition. When George Lucas sold Star Wars fucking Han Solo Star Wars to Disney. That was for $4 billion. We're talking almost double what they had to pay for ZeniMax that Disney had to pay for Star Wars. Star Wars. That's Harrison Ford. In a galaxy far away's version of a V-neck, looking all sorts of handsome. $4 billion. I can't. That blows my mind. $7.5 billion.
To be fair, so we just showed a video or showed the capture of what ZeniMax owns, and they own Bethesda, they own ID Software, they own a couple other things that I just read it and I just blanked on it, but
those are the two big ones.
Those are huge. That's Elder Scrolls, that's Fallout, that's
Arcane. That's right. Fucking Dishonored.
Yeah.
And
Alpha Dog Studios, it's the Doom series. It's
Wolfenstein, Doom.
Yeah,
Dishonored.
it's so much good stuff. The future
new
of
Deathloop game.
The future of really good games, is definitely tied to these studios. Not just these studios, but these are some great studios with some great talent. $7.5 billion is going to take them a long way. But our producer just pointed out that Microsoft now owns the Doom engine.
That's right.
So that, think about where that can.
300 frames a second on a 2080 Ti, the Doom engine.
It's a lot. That's a lot of frames.
That's a lot of frames.
Yeah.
I've been tested by multiple doctors. I can only see 80 frames a second. I've second and third opinions. Can't see more than 80.
Sure.
But some eyes can see hundreds, thousands of frames a second. Can't be possible.
So
it was a huge acquisition, and not to mention there was a lot of throughout the last couple of years where Microsoft is picking. I mean, so all right, let's take it back a little bit.
Yeah.
PlayStation 4 dominated the Xbox mostly, and this was last gen, but mostly because of exclusives, right? That was Microsoft's crux. This whole last generation, they didn't have the Bloodborns, they didn't have The Last of Us, the God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Infamous, Spider-Man was huge. And so Microsoft made a very conscious effort, even well before ZeniMax, to start picking up little studios here and there. Right. And it was towards the end of the console cycle, so I don't think we really got to see what that was going to really come to as far as fruition of these games. I think that's this gen. I think Microsoft is positioning itself well to have those, because that's what you said, right? That's what we started this on. Granted, yes, console, they'll still come to PC, so we're not really having that conversation, but more just from PlayStation to Xbox to Switch. That's gonna make this console run with it. It's more powerful, right? It's 20% more powerful according to the numbers. It's got Game Pass, it's got xCloud, it's got Xbox All Access, and now it's got all these studios. And this is coming from somebody who is for sure a Sony fanboy, but I recognize the strides that Microsoft is making. It's awesome. Good for them. They're not fucking around. They're I got the dirt kicked into my fucking eyes for the last 8 years because of Sony. They didn't even share their numbers anymore. That's how embarrassing it was. They're we don't even tell you what our channels are. We're going to stop that because it's kind of embarrassing. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I think that they're really trying to get this in as many homes as possible, with xCloud, having everything come to PC. They're smart. They're playing this generation really well so far.
Yeah, this Play Anywhere initiative, and just the sort of embracing the world we live in now with the digital, everything being digital, and they really just want to. It feels like too that they want to make the gaming industry more of a partnership rather than this competitive. Obviously competition's good. We can't just have one thing because that's what led to Steam being garbage for a decade.
Yeah.
We need competition, but they seem like they want to work together with the other big players in the industry to make the gaming industry and the gaming community stronger.
Except Sony.
Well, Sony doesn't.
Except Sony.
So kind of
Sony doesn't play well with others.
The things you said about just them putting money into the Xbox and more exclusives and buying these studios kind of leads us to that what we said before, where there really isn't anything. There is no real Xbox exclusive, right? Because the PC world exists, and that's kind of what throws a wrench into things from how you compare the systems and what's going on, because as of 2018, when the 2080 Ti, NVIDIA's RTX 2080 Ti video card came out and already had ray tracing and, started ramping things up like DLSS and some of these little things to add graphical improvements, the jump from 1080 to the 10 series cards, 1080 Ti to the 20 series cards was pretty big. And the fact that RTX was available, it was a huge part of that jump. But now the 2080 Ti, the 20 series jump to the 30 series jump, kind of breaks all the rules. Like the jump, the lowest end of the 30 series cards are as good as the highest 20 series card. So the 3070 that just came out a few weeks ago is as powerful as the 2080 Ti. Which was,
there you go.
And then on top of that is the price point difference. So anytime you release new technology, cost is going to be up, right? So we have a graphic up now about the sort of the power differences. You can see the 3070 RT. Well, this only shows 1080. This picture only shows 1080, but you can see it's well above the 1080 Ti, and 3080 is just even higher. But what all this comment comes down to, in my opinion, is price point. So the 2080 Ti was $1,200. That's a PC for most people, right?
Yeah.
That's over double what the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X cost.
You can get both of those for that price.
Exactly. Yeah, for less than that. Well, the 3080, which the graphic you can see here, towers above the 2080 Ti and all the other cards. The 3080 is only $700.
Which is comparable to what you'd expect. Yeah.
Right. So where you would put PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X on this list, you would put it about a 1080, maybe a little above. Somewhere in between that that 2080 Super and that 1080 Ti's.
Okay.
And so,
so midline. It's like midline
jump from there
graphic
to 3080 is, it's double. And that's where PC is today. Now, granted, you can't get one. There's 10 people have an Xbox Series X, 10 people have a PS5, 10 people have a 3080. And there's a lot of overlap in there. 6 of them have all three.
Yeah.
And so, the having that exist and that accessibility, in the PC world, and then there being no exclusive games, we kind of talk about, PC era, console era, there's this, kind of this back and forth over the years. When PS4 came out, it was hardcore, maybe not hardcore, but we were really in the PC or the console era. Destiny was coming out, the technology for the PS4 and the Xbox were, as good or better than what was available for the PC. They were doing a lot of cool new things, and the jump from PS3 to PS4 was significant.
Yeah.
The jump from PS4 to PS5, and same for Xbox, is not as significant. They basically added RTX, and they're cheating a little bit on how they do it, and that's pretty much all we're getting.
Yeah, really the only jump is the RTX. I mean, there were already games on both Xbox and PlayStation 4 that could do 4K, that could do HDR. Those are like the big things. Now it's RTX. I know both the Xbox, or maybe not the Xbox, or maybe it's the Xbox too, but on the PS5, they both have custom SSDs finally. That's the first time in consoles they've had that. So obviously, like part of that upgrade is something like load time, something like faster performance. But yeah, as far as like graphical, without that RTX, it doesn't look like it. Yeah, it looks better for sure. But like if you turned off like ray tracing on a game for PlayStation 5 right now, it would look like just like a little bit better version of a PS4 game. Obviously, the ray tracing adds quite a bit. But again, what you're explaining is like that jump is just not as significant as it was before in prior generations.
Well, what we're looking at right now is the RTX 2070 on the right, and then the Ryzen 7. I mean, that's comparable at epic settings, which I assume is the highest, and then the PS5's resolution mode.
Yeah.
I mean, you can easily see the differences in just the sharpness and the colors and sort of just how the whole reflections work off each other. The brightness of the sun.
Are you just trying to get? Wait, hold on. Is this whole thing just about you guys just trying to get me to buy a fucking PC?
Yeah.
Is that what this whole video is about? It's a trap.
Much.
Admiral Akbar, it's a trap.
to all people out there,
We're not even gonna upload this video onto YouTube. This whole thing was just so you guys would get me to buy a fucking PC. I never hit. We didn't put a VHS tape in.
Yep, that's true. That's accurate. I don't know. It just we're in this space where the cost to buy a PC that is basically equivalent to a PS6 is barely better or barely more than the cost of a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. And then subscription services are everywhere now. $15 a month for UB Plus, I think is what they call it now. $10 a month for Xbox Game Pass, and you get thousands of games basically. And in most cases, you get tons of new stuff. I mean,
does UB Plus get day one, like Valhalla day one, stuff like that?
Yeah, everything you saw, UB Plus gets day one.
Ooh, that's cool. I didn't know that. All DLC, all everything, all on UB Plus.
Yeah, it's
very cool.
And this started with like, Odyssey was like this. The Division 2 and all its expansions all come in the UB Plus subscription. Same with the most recent Tom Clancy game. I can't Ghost
Recon.
Ghost Recon. Thank you. Breakpoint, yeah. And so that's all included. All the updates, all the expansions, $15 a month. Like that subscription fee is kind of become the norm. So between the cost cuts on GPUs and then the subscription services, like it feels like, in my opinion, we're not just getting in a PC era and away from a console era. Like PC is leaving consoles behind as far as accessibility and power and affordability. And then you can plug any controller into a PC and use it. Like you don't like mouse and keyboard, use a controller instead. It doesn't matter. Every game pretty much supports it.
Yeah, that does whenever anyway.
So Ryan made a comment about how he noticed the difference in the frames playing Miles Morales when he changed the modes. And once you're used to 60 frames, like you can't go back. Like you're never gonna. Yeah, when you start when you start seeing the tearing and just the resolution differences in games, like it's annoyingly bad. And so the consoles just aren't going to be able to. They're not going to be able to do that 60 frames in this higher scaling graphics. At least not in any way like the PC is going to be able to do it. Maybe there's some tricks. They'll figure some stuff out. I mean, technology improves. I don't know. Maybe they'll come out with a PS5 Pro, kind of like they did with the PS4, to fix some of those problems. But the reality is that Microsoft could show PC gameplay at 60 frames and then be like, yeah, go get an Xbox. It'll be great. It can do the same thing. And with air quotes. It can do the same thing.
That's true. Yeah, they show Series X videos, not Series S videos.
Right, and that.
Oh no, it is now actually. So our producer just mentioned Cyberpunk videos, and that's actually been like a big point of contention, right? Is like no one's really seen like a console, but as of either yesterday or the day before, they actually for the first time released 10 minutes of Xbox video, or 10 minutes of gameplay from an Xbox. That's the first actual console gameplay. I didn't look at it, but it is a thing that exists.
That's
Cyberpunk,
an Xbox
by the
One
way.
X, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's One X.
We had it on the screen for about 5 seconds there. It's an
One
Xbox.
X. There's One X. There's no, that's actually the old one. That's One X. There's One X and Series X. You didn't even know because the fucking naming convention is confusing. But the One X is the last generation version.
Right, exactly. So it's not. So that's the thing though. With the Series X and the PS5, it's not developed for those. I believe it's just upscaled and it's upscaled for them, but it's not. It wasn't built for them.
Correct. It was started being built for last gen and is kind of.
But on PC, it has been optimized for the 3080.
This game looks fantastic. Just like totally off point. Like, doesn't this just look lovely?
Oh,
I just can't fucking. I can't wait.
This game is gonna, bring the gaming industry to a halt. When it finally does release. And that's their delays and how good the game's going to be. That's a whole different video and conversation. But
CD Projekt Red can do whatever they want.
They really
they could do things to me that I wouldn't let The Rock do. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. DJ, as we call him in this house.
Weird flex.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts? Give me your final thoughts as we wrap up here. What do you foresee in the future, and what are your plans?
I'm gonna keep my PlayStation 5. I'm going to buy an Xbox Series X next year when it's probably like $100 cheaper. I'm gonna get Shadow PC later this month in November when they let me. They said that I wasn't allowed to have it because they were pissed that I got a PlayStation 5 and not a computer. But they are gonna let me have Shadow later this month, so I can basically play all the games you're playing, but for $15 a month instead of $45,000 for a computer. That's not true. $800. $800. That's true. I spent far more than that. Yeah, $1,200 for the PSX.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I'm just, this comes down to like I don't really get too crazy about like, I love Sony, but really at the end of the day, like as long as there's great games to play, I'm happy. I don't care necessarily where I'm playing them.
But your plan is to buy them all, basically.
Yeah, I'll have an Xbox and technically a PC, I guess. So
yeah,
I'm the kind of guy that like they always make the meme where like someone creates a $1,500 PC. What's the first game they play and it shows Minecraft? That's gonna be me, but my game's gonna be the Old Republic. So that's gonna be my first PC game. But I'm just happy to see where everything goes. Like it seems like there are strides being made for the future, whether it's hardware related, software related, or features, or even like thinking outside the box, like something like Xbox All Access. Very cool stuff. I'm just really excited to see where it all goes. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time to be a gamer.
It is.
We can always say that, but it's definitely an exciting time to be a gamer.
No, this is the best time to be a gamer, honestly. Like there's so many games. Our producer likes, calls the zeitgeist of games. Mm-hmm. And there really is. Like if you can't find something to play, like you're either unwilling to to try something new, or you're just not looking. I want to say depressed. Scroll back up for me, back to early November. He's trying to do the dramatic slow scroll. Like all these games he's scrolling through, all released on the same day.
Yeah, that's insanity.
Or the same 2 days. Like November 10th and 12th, there were like 40 games released or something like that.
Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Crazy.
Looks awesome.
And so like there is so much to play on every system. Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, PC. Like there is so much. This is just November. This is just games in November. He's scrolling through pages and pages and pages. No, some of this is DLC, okay, but still, that means games you're already playing getting updates.
Yeah.
And it's the industry's booming, and there's games for everyone, and they're all good. Well, I won't say they're all good. They're never always
Hey,
good.
even Godfall is like a 6.5.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Cyberpunk.
Time is going to stand still when that game comes out for me.
Yeah, same.
December 10th, guys. Unless
So
it gets delayed again.
There's just, if you like to play video games, you can find it. I mean, the Switch, even, like, you have limited time, or you don't have a TV, or you don't care about all the graphics or whatever. There's so much good stuff to play on the Switch. They're $300. They're not crazy expensive. Actually, you can get the Switch Lite for $200. Like, it's, there's just endless.
Absolutely.
It feels endless, at least.
So we might do another one of these for the VGAs? Question mark?
Yeah. Game of the Year nominees were announced today, and I think some of them don't deserve to be on that list, but
I think
dive into that
I'm going to top of the head right now. I know Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and I lost all of them after that. What else is there?
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That doesn't belong on there.
Yeah, that's actually one that I'm like, why? Why would you put
that? It's just good, but it's not like it's not Game of the Year.
And Animal Crossing. The new Animal Crossing is on there.
I put a lot of time into that. I would understand that. That was like the perfect. I'm pretty sure that might have been why COVID happened, because everyone,
it was for that game.
It was the chicken or the egg. I don't know which one came first. So we might do an episode for that.
That would be fun.
I'm pretty good about it. And thanks for joining us, everyone. I know it's been a hot minute, but we're gonna pop these out every once in a while.
Yeah.
Come out of retirement.
We don't want to. We don't want to push it. People.
Let's not get crazy.
People can't handle the glory that
camera. I know. Shot. I need lighting. I need a camera. I'm working from scratch.
Step up your game, man. I can't.
I know. I expect more out of the Rugged Nerd than this. I'm sure everyone does.
Me too.
Well, thanks for this.
Hey, man. It was good to talk to you.
It's good talking to you, too.
I hope
I'm not even sure we recorded this. It looks good. Hair looks great. I'm like going real, all sorts of gray. You can probably I need a haircut.
I did prepare especially for this. I don't leave the house otherwise.
Yeah, you look great. You look like $1 million. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ryan, Rugged Nerd. That's Mike. We'll see you next time.
Later.